Admiral Zexthar stood at the command center of the Draconian flagship, Eternal Dominion, his scaled fingers dancing across the holographic controls as his fleet of 200 warships dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Sol system. The blue-green planet ahead of them looked remarkably ordinary, just another world ripe for conquest in the ever-expanding Draconian Empire. "Status report," he commanded, his voice carrying the weight of countless successful invasions. "Preliminary scans complete, Admiral," his science officer, Dr. Caveira, reported. "The civilization appears to be at Technology Index 3, early space exploration, primitive satellite networks, and basic nuclear capabilities. Standard invasion protocols should be more than sufficient." Zexthar's outer membrane flickered with amusement. The humans wouldn't know what hit them. The Draconian Empire had conquered dozens of worlds at this technological level, and none had lasted more than a few days against their superior firepower. "Launch the preliminary scan drones," he ordered. "Let's get a detailed map of their defensive capabilities." As the drones descended toward Earth's atmosphere, something caught Dr. Caveira's attention. Her scales shifted to a troubled purple as she studied the readings. "Admiral, I'm detecting some anomalies in their energy signature patterns." "Explain." "Their visible technology suggests they should be consuming far more energy than we're detecting. Either they're operating at impossible efficiency levels, or—" She paused, her scientific training wrestling with what the data suggested. "Or what, Doctor?" "Or we're not seeing everything." Zexthar dismissed her concerns with a wave of his hand. "Probably just sensor interference from their primitive nuclear facilities. Proceed with standard invasion protocols. Launch the warning broadcast." The message went out in every human language. "People of Earth, this is Admiral Zexthar of the Draconian Empire. Your world has been chosen for integration into our dominion. Surrender now, and your species will be permitted to serve as productive members of our society. Resist, and we will be forced to demonstrate our superior might." The response came almost immediately, not in panic or fear, but in perfect Draconian. "Greetings, Admiral Zexthar. This is Earth Defense Command. We respectfully decline your offer of integration. Please withdraw your forces immediately." The command center fell silent. Zexthar's scales shifted to a pale yellow, the Draconian equivalent of shock. They responded in our language. "Impossible. And what is this Earth Defense Command? Our scans showed no such organization." "Admiral," the sensor officer called out urgently, "I'm detecting energy signatures. They're appearing out of nowhere. Thousands of them, all around the planet." Before Zexthar could respond, points of light began appearing around Earth, quantum beacons materializing from seemingly empty space. Each beacon pulsed with energy readings that surpassed anything in the Draconian database. "Impossible," Dr. Caveira whispered, her scales now pure white with fear. "Their energy readings, they're operating on principles we've never seen before." A new message came through, still in perfect Draconian. "This is your final warning, Admiral. Earth has maintained a policy of apparent technological regression for centuries to avoid unnecessary conflicts. We have no desire for war, but we are fully capable of defending ourselves. The choice is yours." Zexthar's pride overwhelmed his caution. 200 warships against a single planet. The odds were still in his favor, regardless of whatever tricks these humans had up their sleeves. "Launch the first wave," he commanded. "Show these primitives what real power looks like." As the first squadron of Draconian fighters descended toward Earth's atmosphere, Dr. Caveira noticed something that made her blood run cold. The quantum beacons weren't weapons at all. They were nodes in a vast network, and that network was beginning to fold space itself around the Draconian fleet. "Admiral," she said urgently, "I strongly recommend we withdraw immediately. These humans, they're not what we thought they were. They're not primitive at all. They're something else entirely." But it was already too late. The trap had been set, and the Draconian fleet was about to learn why so many other alien civilizations had mysteriously vanished after attempting to invade Earth. The first wave of Draconian fighters streaked through Earth's upper atmosphere, their plasma drives leaving trails of ionized particles in their wake. Admiral Zexthar watched from the command center of the Eternal Dominion, expecting to see the familiar sight of primitive defensive systems failing against superior Draconian technology. Instead, the impossible happened. The fighters simply disappeared. One moment they were there, the next they vanished, leaving no trace of debris or energy signatures. The sensor readings made no sense. It was as if that section of space had temporarily ceased to exist. What just happened? Zexthar demanded, his scales shifting to an agitated red. Where are my fighters? Dr. Kavera's claws flew across her console as she analyzed the data. Admiral, the quantum network around Earth, it's not just a defensive grid. They're manipulating the fundamental structure of space-time itself. Our fighters didn't just disappear. They were shifted into some kind of parallel space. As if to confirm her analysis, a transmission arrived from Earth Defense Command. Your fighters are safe, Admiral. We have relocated them to a containment dimension. Their pilots will be treated well and return to you unharmed once this conflict is resolved. Zexthar's membrane pulsed with fury. Launch all remaining squadrons. Target their quantum network nodes. Nothing can maintain that kind of spatial manipulation for long. Their power reserves must be nearly depleted. The remaining Draconian fighters launched, accompanied by destroyer-class vessels carrying planet cracker weapons. But as they approached Earth's atmosphere, something even more extraordinary occurred. The quantum beacons began to sing. It started as a subsonic vibration that resonated through every ship in the Draconian fleet. The vibration grew, becoming a harmonious chorus that seemed to emanate from reality itself. Where the sound waves intersected, space began to crystallize, forming geometric patterns of pure energy that spread like frost across a window. Fascinating, Dr. Clara whispered, her scientific curiosity momentarily overriding her fear. They're using quantum harmonics to induce phase transitions in localized space-time. The theoretical energy requirements for this should be astronomical, yet they're doing it with apparent ease. Admiral, the weapons officer called out, his voice shaking. Our weapons, they're not responding. The targeting systems can't lock onto anything. It's like we're trying to shoot at reflections in a mirror. Through the command center's viewing portal, Zexthar watched in growing horror as his mighty fleet became entangled in a web of crystallized spacetime. Ships that tried to fire their weapons found their energy beams curved back upon themselves. Vessels attempting to retreat discovered that distance had become meaningless. The more power they applied to their engines, the more they seemed to stay in exactly the same place. Another message arrived from Earth. Admiral, you are now witnessing a small demonstration of our quantum architecture technology. We call this particular defense system the glass prison. Your ships are currently suspended in a matrix of crystallized probability states. The more energy you expend trying to escape, the more firmly you become embedded in the matrix. Zexthar's scales had turned a pale gray, the color of dawning comprehension and fear. He turned to Dr. Kavera, who was still studying the readings with fascination. How could they have developed this level of technology without anyone knowing? Think about it, Admiral, she replied, her eyes never leaving her console. All our assumptions about technological progression are based on visible energy signatures and resource consumption patterns. But what if a civilization found a way to operate between the quantum states we can detect? They could develop in plain sight, invisible to conventional observation. As if to punctuate her observation, new structures began to emerge from Earth's surface. Massive architectural forms that seemed to defy physics rose through the atmosphere. Buildings that existed in multiple places simultaneously, vessels that appeared to be both solid matter and pure energy, and arrays of devices that hurt the eye to look at directly. The message from Earth continued. For centuries, we have maintained the appearance of a developing civilization to avoid unnecessary conflicts. We have watched as empire after empire has risen and fallen, each believing they had reached the pinnacle of technological achievement. We chose to wait, to develop our understanding of the universe's true nature quietly and carefully. Zexthar stared at his fleet, now completely immobilized in the crystalline matrix, and realized that every assumption he had made about this mission, about humanity, about the nature of technological advancement itself, had been catastrophically wrong. The supposedly primitive humans hadn't just surpassed Draconian technology. They were operating on principles that made his empire's greatest achievements look like children's toys. And somewhere in the back of his mind, a terrifying question began to form. If this was what humanity had been hiding, what else might they be capable of? Deep within Earth Defense Command's quantum core, Dr. Sarah Chen watched the holographic display of the immobilized Draconian fleet with a mixture of satisfaction and regret. As Earth's chief of quantum architecture, she had spent decades helping to develop the very systems that now held 200 of the galaxy's most powerful warships in quantum stasis. Status report on the crystalline matrix, she asked her team. Holding stable at 99.9% efficiency, replied Dr. James Rodriguez, his fingers dancing across patterns of light that served as their quantum interface. The Draconians are still trying to brute force their way out, but they're only strengthening the probability lattice. Sarah nodded, her expression thoughtful. The Draconians weren't the first alien empire to discover Earth's carefully maintained deception, but they were by far the largest fleet to test humanity's defenses. Perhaps it was time to show them why Earth had chosen to hide its true capabilities for so long. Initialize Protocol Omega, she commanded. Let's show them what happens when you push humanity into a corner. Across Earth's surface, hidden quantum arrays that had laid dormant for centuries began to activate. These weren't the defensive systems that had trapped the Draconian fleet. They were something far more sophisticated. Each array was a node in a vast network designed to manipulate the very fabric of reality on a fundamental level. In space, Admiral Zexthar watched with growing dread as new patterns began to emerge in the crystalline matrix surrounding his fleet. The structures seemed to pulse with an inner light that defied description, creating cascading waves of probability that rippled through space-time itself. "Dr. Caveira," he called out, "what are they doing now?" The science officer's scales had turned pure white, a sign of total astonishment. They're rewriting local physics, Admiral. Somehow they found a way to alter the fundamental constants of space-time within defined regions. The implications are... She was interrupted by a new transmission from Earth. "Admiral Zexthar, this is Dr. Sarah Chen of Earth Defense Command. What you're witnessing is the result of over 500 years of quantum architectural development. While other civilizations focused on harnessing energy and matter, we chose to understand and manipulate the underlying code of reality itself." As she spoke, sections of space around the Draconian fleet began to transform. Matter and energy flowed like water, forming impossible structures that seemed to exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously. The crystalline matrix that had trapped the fleet was now becoming something else entirely, a vast quantum computer that extended through both space and time. "You see, Admiral," Dr. Chen continued, "we discovered something remarkable during our early quantum experiments. The universe isn't just stranger than we imagined. It's stranger than we could imagine. What you call technology, we learned to see as simply the surface layer of a much deeper reality." To demonstrate her point, a small sphere of distorted space appeared on the Eternal Dominion's command deck. Inside it, the laws of physics seemed to operate in reverse. Gravity pushed instead of pulled, light bent in impossible ways, and time itself appeared to flow backward and forward simultaneously. "This is impossible," Dr. Caveira whispered, her scientific training warring with what she was witnessing. "The energy requirements alone would be astronomical using conventional physics." Dr. Chen finished for her. "But we're not using conventional physics. We're not fighting against the universe's natural laws. We're speaking their language directly. Every particle, every wave function, every quantum state is part of a vast cosmic dance. We simply learned how to join that dance rather than trying to force it to follow our lead. Around the fleet, the transformation continued. The quantum computer was now fully operational, its calculations rippling through reality itself. Probability waves collapsed and reformed in patterns that hurt the mind to contemplate. The ship's own energy systems began to respond to this new quantum architecture, their power plants synchronizing with frequencies they were never designed to handle. Admiral Zexthar watched helplessly as his mighty fleet was systematically reprogrammed at the quantum level. Weapons systems transformed into abstract mathematical constructs. Hull plating became probability fields. Even the artificial gravity generators were now operating on principles that his best scientists couldn't begin to comprehend. "You have two choices, Admiral." Dr. Chen's voice was firm, but not unkind. "You can order your fleet to stand down, in which case we will restore your ships to normal spacetime and allow you to return home with a warning to others who might follow. Or you can continue to resist, and we will be forced to demonstrate exactly why humanity chose to hide its true nature from the galaxy for so long." As if to emphasize her point, a small section of space near the fleet simply winked out of existence, not destroyed, not transformed, but completely removed from reality, as if it had never been there at all. The message was clear. Humanity hadn't been hiding out of fear. They had been hiding because they knew exactly how terrifying their power could be to others. Admiral Zexthar stood motionless on his command deck, his scales shifting through shades of gray as he processed the full implications of humanity's capabilities. Around him, his mighty fleet hung suspended in a web of quantum manipulation that defied everything he thought he knew about the universe. His science officer, Dr. Kavera, was still frantically analyzing the impossible readings from Earth's defense systems. "Admiral," she said, her voice barely above a whisper, "you need to see this." Her claws gestured at a new set of readings. "The quantum computer they've constructed around our fleet, it's not just transforming spacetime. It's creating a cascade effect through all possible reality states. If they activate it fully—" She didn't need to finish the thought. The implications were clear. Humanity hadn't just developed advanced technology. They had found a way to manipulate the fundamental structure of reality itself. The Draconian Empire's greatest weapons were like stone axes compared to what Earth was capable of. A new holographic projection appeared in the command center, showing Dr. Sarah Chen standing in what appeared to be an impossible space, a room that existed in multiple phases of reality simultaneously. "Admiral, we're detecting power buildups in your secondary systems. I want to be very clear about what will happen if you attempt to activate any weapons." The projection expanded, showing a mathematical model that even Dr. Kavera struggled to comprehend. "The quantum matrix surrounding your fleet is now entangled with your ships at the subatomic level. Any aggressive action on your part will trigger an automatic response that will phase shift your entire fleet into a parallel probability state. In simpler terms, you will cease to exist in this reality." To demonstrate, she gestured, and a small portion of space near the fleet suddenly transformed. The void itself seemed to fold and unfold like origami made of darkness, revealing glimpses of other realities before sealing itself again. The display of power was both beautiful and terrifying. "Dr. Chen," Kavera spoke up, her scientific curiosity temporarily overriding protocol, "how did humanity develop these capabilities without detection? Our monitoring systems cover the entire electromagnetic spectrum." Chen's hologram smiled. "Because we learned to think differently. While other species focused on manipulating energy and matter, we explored the spaces between conventional reality states. Every quantum particle exists in multiple states simultaneously until observed. We simply learned how to operate in those undefined states." She gestured, and the holographic display showed Earth's hidden development over centuries. Vast underground complexes that existed partially out of phase with normal spacetime, research facilities that operated between the quantum states that alien sensors could detect, and technologies that worked by suggesting to reality what it should be rather than forcing it to change. Your empire builds machines to impose their will on the universe, Chen continued. We learn to ask the universe nicely, and it turns out reality is quite accommodating when you know how to phrase the question. Admiral Zexthar's scales had settled into a pale blue, the color of resignation. You could have revealed yourselves at any time, dominated the galaxy. Why maintain this deception? Because we understood something fundamental about power, Chen replied. The moment we demonstrated our true capabilities, we would become a target, not just for conquest, but for those who would try to steal or replicate our technology. We chose isolation and deception to avoid unnecessary conflicts. She paused, her expression growing serious. But make no mistake, Admiral. Our desire for peace is not weakness. We are giving you a chance to leave with your fleet intact, not because we can't destroy you, but because we don't want to. Humanity has no desire for galactic domination. We simply wish to be left alone to continue our development. As if to emphasize her point, the quantum matrix around the fleet pulsed once, and every ship's computer system simultaneously displayed the same message, a complete technical analysis of how thoroughly humanity could remove them from existence. The data was devastating in its clarity. The Draconian Empire scientists could understand just enough of the principles involved to know that resistance wasn't just futile, it was suicidal. Humanity hadn't just surpassed them technologically. They had evolved beyond the very concept of conventional warfare. Admiral Zextar looked at his fleet, trapped in humanity's quantum web, and realized he faced the most important decision of his career. His empire's doctrine demanded that he fight to the last ship, but his intelligence told him that such an action would not only fail, but might reveal to the galaxy just how far behind they all were compared to humanity's capabilities. As he contemplated his options, a new set of readings began to emerge from Earth's surface. The quantum arrays were powering up for something massive, and this time, Dr. Kavera's scales turned completely white with terror as she analyzed the data. The readings from Earth's quantum arrays had Dr. Kavera trembling. "Admiral," she reported, her voice shaking, "they're initiating something massive. The quantum fluctuations, they're creating a cascade effect through multiple dimensions. Whatever they're planning, it will rewrite the laws of physics across this entire sector of space." Before Admiral Zextar could respond, the space around Earth began to transform. The quantum matrix surrounding the Draconian fleet pulsed with new energy as reality itself seemed to hold its breath. In the void between stars, impossible geometries bloomed like crystalline flowers, each one a window into different dimensions of space and time. Dr. Sarah Chen's hologram reappeared, but this time she wasn't alone. Behind her stood representatives from every nation on Earth, their expressions grave but determined. "Admiral, what you're witnessing is the activation of Project Starwave. For centuries, we've been building a quantum network that encompasses not just Earth, but our entire solar system. Today, you get to see why." The void erupted with light as thousands of quantum nodes activated simultaneously. Space itself began to fold and unfold like an infinite origami, revealing layers of reality that no Draconian scientist had ever dreamed existed. The fleet's sensors overloaded, unable to process what they were seeing. "This is humanity's final warning," Chen announced. "We are about to shift our entire solar system slightly out of phase with conventional spacetime. If you choose to stay, your fleet will be drawn into the phase shift. You won't be destroyed. You'll simply exist in a different layer of reality, one where you can observe but never interact with the normal universe again." To demonstrate, a small portion of space near the fleet shifted. Through the distortion, they could see ghost images of other realities, versions of their ships that had made different choices, paths not taken, possibilities that existed in quantum superposition. Admiral Zextar understood now. Humanity hadn't just developed advanced technology. They had transcended the very concept of conventional warfare. They could literally choose which reality they wanted to exist in, shifting between quantum states as easily as his ships traveled through space. "How many other civilizations?" he asked, his voice hoarse. "How many others have you?" "None," Chen replied firmly. "You're the first to force our hand this far. We've always preferred to maintain our disguise, to appear primitive and unworthy of conquest. But your empire's expansion forced us to reveal a fraction of our capabilities. Consider carefully what that means. What you've seen isn't our full strength. It's merely what we're willing to show you." Around the fleet, the quantum distortions were intensifying. Reality was becoming fluid, malleable. Ship's sensors reported being in multiple locations simultaneously, existing in superpositions of possibility that threatened to drive their crews mad. In that moment, Admiral Zexthar made his decision. "Stand down all weapons," he commanded, his scales shifting to the deep blue of profound realization. "Transmit surrender protocols to Earth Defense Command." The message was sent, and immediately the quantum distortions began to stabilize. The crystalline matrices gently unwound, releasing the fleet from their geometric prison. As reality settled back into its normal patterns, Dr. Chen spoke one final time. "Your fleet will be escorted to the edge of our solar system. When you return to your empire, you face a choice. You can tell them the truth about what you encountered here, or you can simply report that Earth has unusual defenses that make conquest impossible. Choose wisely." As the Draconian fleet retreated, their sensors recorded one final, incredible sight. The entire Sol system seemed to shimmer for a moment, like heat waves over hot pavement. When the distortion cleared, Earth and its solar system appeared completely normal again. A seemingly primitive civilization, barely able to reach its own moon. But now they knew the truth. Beneath that carefully maintained facade lay a civilization that had transcended the normal bounds of physics and reality itself. Humanity hadn't evolved along the expected path of technological development. They had stepped sideways into a different kind of advancement altogether. In the years that followed, the story of the Draconian fleet's encounter spread through the galaxy, growing with each retelling. Some claimed the entire fleet had vanished without a trace. Others insisted they had witnessed Earth-wielding powers that rivaled the gods themselves. The truth, as usual, was both simpler and more complex. The Draconian Empire quietly abandoned its expansion plans in Earth's sector of space. Other civilizations, noting this sudden change in policy, began to pay more attention to the seemingly primitive planet that had somehow turned back the galaxy's most powerful fleet. And on Earth, life continued as before. Humans went about their daily lives, most never knowing how close they had come to war, or how their civilization's greatest achievement wasn't the power they had developed, but the wisdom to keep it hidden. In research facilities that existed between moments of time, scientists continued their work, pushing the boundaries of what was possible while the rest of the galaxy slowly began to wonder, what else might humanity be hiding? Far beyond the edge of human space, Admiral Zexthar stood before the Draconian High Council, preparing to give his report. His scales had settled into a new color, one rarely seen among his kind, the deep violet of absolute certainty. He had glimpsed a truth that would change his civilization forever. The galaxy was far stranger than anyone had imagined, and humanity was its most remarkable mystery.